This one. Look this way. Hello.
Yes.
And we are live here in Salem, Virginia for the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show here on. I love
Right,
you.
are we good? Are Greg and I good?
Because if you're not, you'll leave, right?
Yeah, I'll go inside.
I can't hear him. We are live here in the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show for D3Football.com. And I should actually preface this as the wind tunnel of Salem Stadium that we are in right now. Folks, this was kind of unexpected. We would have talked a lot more about this during the week if we knew this was coming. It is windy, extremely windy here in Salem Stadium today. And for the Bryce Wilkerson teaching of how to catch a punt that we heard in our podcast earlier this week, it's going to be extremely important for ball handling all night long if this wind continues this way. I guess you have to cradle the ball even when you're just going down as a wide receiver and trying to catch the ball. Adam Turr, Greg Thomas joining me here in the pregame show. Guys, let's preface this game a little bit here. We'll be talking a lot more about it throughout the pregame show, but it's Mary Hardin-Baylor, the defending national champs, taking on Mount Union. Does this weather, which is about 32 degrees, and that's where it's going to stay tonight, but the wind chill is going to make it Oshkosh style out here. By the way, Brett Casper will be joining us later on the show. But it's going to be really interesting to watch how this affects the pass game for these teams. And also, Adam, we have some breaking news on the starting lineups here. So take it away. What do we have here?
Well, first of all, I think with this weather, I think the experience that Mary Hardin-Baylor got being here, playing in this game last year under similar, not quite as frigid and windy conditions, but similar conditions, is really going to make a difference for them. I think if this was their first trip, it might be more of an issue, but just so many players that were here last year and experienced it, they know what to expect coming in. I think that's going to make a huge difference, and I think it'll level the playing field in a lot of ways.
So the breaking news, Greg, linebacker Charlie Deere from Mount Union will not be, I believe, suiting up even tonight. We hear he is nicked up a little bit and will not be making that start for Mount Union. That's a big loss on defense for that team.
It is. Charlie Deere's an All-American caliber player. But, Mount Union, depth. I mean, they're here more often than not because they always have guys to step up. I think they will have another guy filling in for Charlie Deere. I wish I knew that guy's name. Trey Williams, I believe.
Yes.
Trey Williams is going to step up. Mount Union is Mount Union because they have extraordinary depth. They're going to chug along as Mount Union does.
And you can see here, everything is just blowing around here, folks. They tried to put up the blockades behind us, and they can't even get them to stay up. And they have some weight to them. You were actually trying to bring one up to the podium here earlier, and Greg, you just couldn't do it. This is just in 11 Stagg Bowls. This is for me going to be the coldest Stagg Bowl based on wind chill, and not on temperature, because last year we got probably down to around 25 degrees by the end of the game. Got a little snow to fall as well at one point in it, but the wind chill. There you have it, folks, right there. That is what is left of the backdrop. And I don't think much of it's going to remain. It's a losing cause. You don't want it blowing into the field. And there's Pat Coleman, our executive editor, surveying the site as well. Good to see him there. So, folks, we are going to be talking about a lot of things here in this pregame show. And this is the last one in Salem. Greg, this is your first one in Salem. First one, I think, period, that you've ever gone to. And I really want to ask you what your thoughts were coming into this, why you wanted to come to this one so badly, and what you think of it minus the weather.
Yeah, well, as a Division III football fan, I don't think that your experience is complete unless you've been to the Stagg Bowl. And with the news earlier this year that the Stagg Bowl was going to be leaving Salem, the game has an identity here, and I think it...
Go ahead, trade your headsets. Go ahead.
Live TV. But the game has an identity here, and I thought it was important for me to get to Salem to see a Salem Stagg Bowl and all of the identity of the game that comes with it.
Well, indeed you did that, and we want to welcome you here. You are also our head bracketologist of sorts, Greg, and I want to talk to you about whether or not this bracket lived up to really what we thought coming into the season. What were your takeaways as this postseason developed?
Well, in the final we have preseason number 1, Mary Hardin-Baylor versus preseason number 2, Mount Union, per the D3Football.com top 25, of course. So the two teams that we thought would be here at the end are. So in that sense, we got exactly what we expected. I think as the tournament played out, we also got what we expected. I think in the 4 regions, I think we saw the top team come out of each of the 4 regions. With Mount Union, obviously, they didn't have too much difficulty through their region, and we didn't expect that. Mary Hardin-Baylor saw some really tough teams. They had to play Linfield, they had to play St. Thomas, but the defense, tied those teams down. Mary Hardin-Baylor is back here. Oshkosh won their region, but overall, I think the tournament played out about the way that we thought it would.
Adam, I'm going to save some of your thoughts for later. You're going to be joining me throughout this pregame show. So what we'd like to do is, in a second here, take a break and begin transitioning into the whole idea of this is it for Salem and where we go from here as well. And also, between those segments, start talking about the game itself, which is a very important thing to do. So, folks, stay tuned here. You are watching the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com.
I coined my definition of success in 1934. My definition of success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. It's like reputation and character. Reputation is what others perceive you to be. Character is what you are.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
I coined my definition of success in 1934. My definition of success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. It's like reputation and character. Reputation is what others perceive you to be. Character is what you are.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship.
And we are back here at Salem Stadium for the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show. Adam Turd staying with me for this segment, and we're going to be joined right now by Carrie Harvey-Cutter, who is the game manager, formerly the director of
Civic Facilities.
I see if I could make the V sound right now. Maybe I'd actually do that for you. But you've had many titles over your years, I believe, here, but you are the most influential person in having the Stagg Bowl in Salem for 25 years. Carrie, first question I have for you is, why was it so important for you back in 1993 and beyond to get this game to Salem?
To be honest with you, in 1993, we went after the bid in 91, I think. We just wanted a quality football game in our stadium. Our high school season was over. This is a football-crazy community. We just won the state championship 3 years in a row. And so we wanted a game that wouldn't impact the stadium. We could re-turf, sod, or whatever we needed to do. And and bring it in, and then it grew from there.
So this past summer, I believe it was, you learned the news that the NCAA was not going to renew with Salem. They did not renew men's basketball either. I believe Roanoke College is getting women's basketball.
We have women's basketball for 19 and 21.
But it's got to be a disappointment after all this time and all the energy and all the stuff that you really have done for the NCAA, especially during the North Carolina kind of crisis they ran into down there because of the gender bathroom issue that really became a problem with championships that were lined up down there. What was your reaction? What were your thoughts? And how do you feel about things right now?
Well, it was interesting. They actually called us. Brad Bankston and I got on a conference call with the NCAA people for them to explain a day before it was announced to the public. So we were prepared for it. You know, you're saddened by it, but you know that passed. This is 25 years of something nobody's ever done. When we first got the game, you know, we had such cold weather the first year. It snowed the second year. We just hoped we'd get a fourth year. We had a 3-year contract. Hoped for that. Then John Saunders and I, he was my assistant director for 24 years. Through that time, we hoped to have the game, you know, 10 years. And then we wanted to have it just 1 year more than Phoenix City, Alabama. And so now we've had it 25. We've done something that nobody's ever done and probably will never, ever do again.
I think you got to be right. Adam, what number is this for you?
This will be, I believe, number 9 for me. And, you know, it's always got a special place in my heart because I went to Washington Elite University right up the road. And actually, my first Stagg Bowl, I came down and, you know, the ODAC host, you mentioned Brad Banks and the ODAC commissioner, and a teammate, Walker Williams, and I were part of the panel that the ODAC brings down here every year. It was 2005. It was the first Mount Union Whitewater matchup. Who knows, it would be the first of many of those. And so, you know, for me, this is a homecoming of sorts. You know, tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go up to Lexington, visit some people.
It's home.
I'm going to see Coach Muriello tonight come down here. You know, that's what I love is
I knew Frank was coming.
So many people come to this every year, and people look forward to it. You know, it's a reunion for the D3Football.com staff. We see each other here every year. We see you here every year, and you know it's got a special place in all of our hearts. And I'm thankful that I've been able to be a part of it. That Salem's been able to play such an important role in Division III football for so many years. And like you said, no matter what happens in the future, no one's ever going to match this.
They aren't. And what it is, it takes it. We took a game in 1993 that not very many people wanted. You know, we did a lot of innovative things. We did memento packs for all the student athletes. Everybody on the travel party got a big gym bag, which ultimately morphed into the NCAA doing mementos at all the championships in Division III. So we've done a lot of things. We involved the community from day one with the host families and the restaurants and everything else. So we've done some things, and we're just hoping that as it moves to Texas and then later to Canton, that it'll just be a better experience for the student athletes. That's been our focus since day one, and that should be the focus always, the student athletes.
You guys really brought Division III to the big time.
We did.
I think the players recognize that as well.
This was like a big bowl. It wasn't just the D3 championship. It was the Stagg Bowl.
Well, Kerry, you bring up the fact nobody wanted it 25 years ago, and then we end up having a split bid between Shenandoah, Texas, and Canton, Ohio over the next 4 years. So you did something right, that's for sure.
We did.
25 years, lots of memories.
Tremendous memories.
Boil it down to the best memory you have of this event.
The year that it snowed.
2009. I was out here with you.
When I got to call Pat Coleman and wake him up. And
you woke me up, too.
Yeah, he hung up on me the first time. I called the second time and told him what we were doing. But the way the city of Salem, especially the Civic Center staff and Parks and Recreation people that came up here and got the snow off this field, continued through the night. We used to have a saying in Salem. Our city manager used to give awards, You Make Salem Shine award. And the staff that was here, Paul Bowles, Ryan Horsley, John Shaner that night, when it was snowing over an inch an hour, they said, we don't think Salem's going to shine tomorrow. Well, we did it. We got the snow out of here, and they opened with the only green spot of land in the whole Commonwealth of Virginia because of the snow emergency.
It was our first video pregame show, and it was a big one for us because we were like, okay, we're going to get to show everybody the snow on the field right off the bat. This is going to be great. And there was no snow on the field, not a drop.
Right. Well, I remember the day before, you conducted an interview with me in front of the Civic Center, and it just started snowing then about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it snowed through the night till 5:30 the next morning.
Kerry, we could talk to you for hours and hours.
We could all talk for hours.
And I just want to thank you for everything.
You're welcome. It's been a great run. You know, the friendships we've made with people like the two of you all, with Pat, with Dave McHugh, with all the people with D3 football, D3 hoops. You know, I tell people I have friends in places that most people have never heard of the places. I've been to 7 different colleges in Wisconsin. I mean, my wife's from Wisconsin. She hadn't necessarily been to as many places as I have in Wisconsin. And so it's the friends you make along the way, the committee members that have been reaching out to us today, Paul Plinsky, who was the AD at Whitewater, and people like that.
Folks, if you have any wonder as to why this game had that homey feel, why the NCAA liked having it here, look no further than Kerry Harvey Cutter and the personality he has. Despite, you know, what could be a disappointing situation, you take the silver lining out of everything and put it out front. And we appreciate that from you, sir.
It's been a great run, and we're going to celebrate that run. In fact, they're doing something at halftime. I had an invitation to come to the game this year, which is kind of odd since I'm the game manager. But I did get an invitation to be at halftime 3 minutes before, and I told them, I said, guys, I don't plan to leave at the end of the first quarter. I'm going to be here. It's going to,
Where are you going to be after the game?
Mac and Bob's with you all.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
First time in 25 years.
And, folks, if you're watching this in the Salem area, please do come to Mac and Bob's. We're going to be recording our last podcast there around the nation. We're going to take a break here. We'll talk to you more later than it sounds like at Mac and Bob's. Folks, you stay tuned. This is the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Welcome back to the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show, and I am not Jim Cantori. I am Frank Rossi with Adam Turer, although we could play meteorologist right now and tell you it's darn cold with the wind chill here in Salem, Virginia. We want to start breaking down the game here in this segment, and first we want to talk about the Mary Hardin-Baylor defense versus the Mount Union offense. And Adam, I thought earlier today would be a good time to maybe bring in a friend of ours from my show In the Huddle that I do with James Baker, Joe Germanario from Brockport, to kind of break down the UMHB defense a little bit. He faced them on Saturday for Brockport and had mixed results, but a lot of people walked away thinking he did a great job against what is a front four, that is unmatched, I think, in this country in a lot of ways. We'll find out tonight, obviously. Just start off with your thoughts on that front four, then we'll bring in Joe's interview.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's got a better perspective than a quarterback who just faced them on Saturday and was held scoreless. this defensive line is the best in the nation. I don't think anyone questions that. Vince Karras agreed with that, speaking to him earlier this week. It all starts up front with the front four from Mary Hardin-Baylor. The disruption, they had a star player last year, the National Defensive Player of the Year on the defensive line, and Tedrick Smith. He graduates. They come back, 3 out of the 4 returning starters, and they're even better this year. They can wreak havoc on any offense in the country.
Let's go to the Joe Germanero interview that was done earlier today. Joe, thanks for joining us in the pregame show. And I have a message before we start from a lot of Mary Hardin-Baylor fans that I've spoken with since Saturday. They said, despite the loss, they wanted me to tell you how tremendous of a quarterback they think you are. I think the word special was used on a few occasions because of what you were able to do under duress last week, especially with the front four of Mary Hardin-Baylor. And congratulations to you for getting as far as you did with your team this season, obviously, but for also, impressing the nation and the folks down in the South there that really respect their own defense and respect you because of it. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Frank, thanks for having me, and congrats to Mary Hardin-Baylor for making it to the national championship.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about that front four. I mean, you saw them on tape beforehand, obviously. You kind of knew what you were getting yourself into because of the size and the speed that they have. But when you actually were playing in that game, tell me what makes those guys so special and, what a quarterback or offensive line has to do about guys like that ultimately.
Definitely their size and speed for one. It's unlike anything we've seen, and obviously you're going to probably try and have a running back stay in and just chip to just try and slow down that pass rush. I mean, you have A.J. Fanene and other guys on the outside that are just they make your offensive lineman's life miserable at times, and they did the best they can, our line, and really there's just credit to them. They're just a really good team, and it helps them out tremendously in the secondary because they disrupt things so much in the front four.
Joe, one thing that I noticed, you only made probably 2 mistakes in a lot of people's eyes, one of which was a 4th and goal late in the game that you had to force a pass into the end zone, and a lot of people won't hold that one against you. But earlier on, you had an interception, second play from offense, I believe it was, and Chris Brown basically picked you off. We don't talk as much about the secondary of Mary Hardin-Baylor, but I also noticed you became a little more gun-shy about going cross-field sometimes with passes. What is the secondary like? What is your read of them? And again, what does the quarterback have to be mindful of when they're facing that secondary?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, again, you just go back to speed. They have great speed and they're very instinctive and they have great ball skills. So you got to be careful because knowing one bad throw, they're going to take advantage. They're not going to drop a pick. They're going to take right advantage and pick that ball up and give their offense great field position. So you have to be cautious of that. I mean, their safeties are great and they don't miss tackles really. From their linebackers to their secondary, they don't miss tackles. And I thought we had really good skill guys that can make guys miss, and they still are really good. But just credit to Mary Hardin-Baylor, they just find ways to just wrap up, and they don't allow big plays really.
My co-host on In the Huddle, James Baker, was picking up on something with D'Angelo Fulford from Mount Union, that he may have a slower delivery approach than you do. And how do you think that will affect a quarterback playing against this Mary Hardin-Baylor defense ultimately? Do you think a little bit of a hitch in the throw will be a difference maker at all? How do you kind of see, from what you know of Mount Union, how this lines up, between their offense and Mary Hardin-Baylor's defense?
Yeah, I don't think the hitch will really affect them. I actually streamed their game, the Mount Union Wisconsin-Oshkosh game, and he's a fantastic player. So I think he's going to have to feel pressure and really not try to limit sacks because you don't want to get 3rd and 15 against that team, 3rd and 12 and 3rd and long essentially because there's a few play calls you can get to pick up first downs. You want to stay ahead of the sticks and try and run the ball against this team because they don't allow big plays like I said. So I don't think the hitch will be a big thing. He just needs to feel pressure and not take sacks.
What did you learn? We've heard Coach Karras talk about you learn more from losses than at the end of the day, especially when you watch these on replay. What did you learn to the degree that you've watched it again, or even from the game day experience itself? What did you learn about your team from the experience of being in the semifinal?
I learned we're a great group of competitors. Really, we didn't give up when we played till the final whistle. I know the scoreboard didn't show, but we did everything we could to try and score. We had a couple opportunities in the red zone, but again, credit to Mary Hardin-Baylor. They're a really good team. And we fought and we clawed and we digged and we fought. It was a tough game for us, and it was a great atmosphere for us to be in, and it was you know, it was a phenomenal game to be in, and we were really excited for our program. But
Joe, I mean, I know this is a tough question at all, but I'm kind of curious to hear your answer to it. How do you think this game ultimately plays out? If you had to guess, knowing what you know about Mount Union from watching the Oshkosh game, and knowing obviously about Mary Hardin-Baylor from playing them yourself, how does this thing play out?
Defensive battle for sure. I think the key in the game is going to be Mary Hardin-Baylor's red zone defense versus Mount Union's red zone offense. They're going to have to take advantage and score touchdowns and not kick field goals. And it's going to be a one-possession game. It's going to come down to a final drive, I think, and whoever has the ball last will win.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you joining us. I know you had a couple finals today. Your AD Eric Hart probably wants me to ask you how they go ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll assume they went okay, and I'll let Eric know that. But
went well.
Good. And go enjoy. If your holiday break is starting, go enjoy it and have a great off season. We will see you in September. Because remember, folks, he's just a sophomore. He's got 2 more years at Brockport as long as everything goes well. So be fearful, because I know Mary Hardin-Baylor's fans are the fact that you have 2 more years under your belt.
Frank, quick question for you. What is the suit choice? I saw the picture on Twitter of you last year. What is the suit choice?
A lot more muted, but there is a special significance, and you have to stay tuned to the end of this show. Around 6:10 p.m., we'll reveal what the choice of attire is, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for asking, Joe, and thanks for joining us.
Frank, thanks.
And whatever I am wearing tonight, it better be pretty darn warm. That's all I'm going to say in response to that, Jojo Romario. Thanks for joining us, my friend, back in Brockport. And, he gives some sage advice in that interview, and Adam, you picked off a little bit of it. What especially stuck out for you?
Yeah, I think he made a great point about the red zone defense, because the Golden Eagles showed last week that you can move the football against this Mary Hardin-Baylor defense a little bit as long as you don't make mistakes. What hurt them in the first quarter was the interceptions, the turnovers. But if you get in a rhythm, you can move the football. The question is, when you get down to the red zone, there were chances last Saturday where Brockport could have settled for field goals. They realized in a game like that against an opponent like Mary Hardin-Baylor, it's probably better to go for as many points as they can get. And the defense, the crew defense held stout, as they've done so many times this year. So I think that's going to be a key, because Mount Union's going to get their yards. I think we could all agree on that. No matter how great this defense is, Mount Union's offense is the best in the country. They're going to get their yards. What happens once they get inside the 20?
That's a good question. Well, he thinks it's going to be a defensive struggle, as he said there, and I think we all kind of agree with that. I didn't see any high scores in our quick hits, for instance, this last day and a half or so.
Oh, absolutely. Although I do remember the last time we predicted that was 2 years ago
yes.
with St. Thomas's defense against Mount Union's, and I believe the final score of that game ended up being 43-34, far surpassing all of our predictions.
Our prognostications are tremendous here on the Stagg Bowl pregame show. Folks, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about Shenandoah, Texas. They're next up to host this game, Stagg Bowl 46 and 47. But you're watching the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com.
Cheer for the stumbles. The he shoulda had that's. And the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, then I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
Cheer for the stumbles. that he should have had that, and the tears that linger. For in those moments, greatness lies. There, you will find the provoked, the determined, the unified. It's in those moments that champions are born.
And we're back here on the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com. I'm Frank Rossi, being joined by Stephanie Consum and Debbie Pilcher. Stephanie, to my far left, your right side of the screen, and Debbie is in the center here. They're representing Shenandoah, Texas. Shenandoah will be the host of Stagg Bowls 46 and 47. Then it goes to Canton, Ohio for a couple of years. But you folks get to take over from Salem for a couple of years. That's no small shoe to fill. Stephanie, I'll start with you. How excited are you about this?
I am incredibly excited. It is an incredible opportunity for the city of Shenandoah to win the bid and put on an event like this.
Debbie, you've been here for, I think, the last couple of days, and you've seen a lot of things that Salem does. What stuck out to you about the experience in Salem that you might take back with you down back in Shenandoah?
There's a lot of things that we're looking at, setups on different events, the way the city looks, the way the city reacts. We're looking at bringing that with us too.
Absolutely. Now, ladies, there's been some talk, and we've seen city council minutes and whatnot over the last couple of months. Politics are what they are, and elections do certain things, and there's some turnover in the city, obviously, after the bid was granted to Shenandoah. There were some concerns expressed about cost issues, etc., in Shenandoah. From what I could tell, things got rectified, but can you update us as to where things stand, and are you ready? Are you getting ready right now to get things going?
Absolutely.
Make sure. No, don't worry.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
Council asked me to put a budget together. I went to work.
And I mean, I guess it's tough to project. We're a year away from it, but what's the time frame generally that you're looking at where you're going to know kind of, we're going to do this event, we're going to do that event? What kind of calendar have you put on yourself to have things in, let's say, a presentable fashion for everybody?
Oh, I'm a list maker. We're making plans.
We started 2 months ago. We're working on it.
Sounds great. So now, Mary Hardin-Baylor is technically listed as a host, like the ODAC is, etc. What will their role be? And I know Pete Fredenberg has been excited about that fact, though he will miss Salem. He admitted that to us in an interview we'll have later on in this show. But what is Mary Hardin-Baylor's role as a host school in this whole situation?
They're a partner with us. They're in through the planning and helping us to look at the procedures here. They'll be with us on all the steps as we go through the planning and input with that.
If I know Pete Fredenberg, he's a very hands-on kind of guy too, so I have a feeling he's going to lend a lot of assistance in this whole process, Stephanie.
Undoubtedly, they know football, so we will definitely lean on them for support and advice.
Do you have any rooting interest tonight? Now, I have to ask you that because I know where you're coming from tonight, but are you allowed to have any rooting interest even in this whole situation tonight? I think one more time you can. One more time.
Yeah, I think one more time before it comes to our city, we're allowed to. And hey, I'm from Texas, the great state of Texas. So.
Say hi to folks back in Texas then real quick, the camera. Well, we appreciate you joining us. Keep us filled in on the details as they come in, but it sounds like you're definitely in that planning stage right now, and we look forward to coming down to see you in Shenandoah, Texas for Stagg Bowl 46, especially in the 47 after that.
Good. Hey, we're excited to have you.
Thank you so much. Folks, we're going to break down the Mount Union defense against the Mary Hardin-Baylor offense. We'll have a special guest to do that with us coming up here on the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com. Thanks, ladies.
This is why we love sports. It's in the way they play, free from the pressures and all the money talk. Playing for simply the love of the game, where everyone has a shot at their definition of success on and off the field. This is what we love about sports and what we can still love about college sports.
For the love of the game. That's what it's all about, they say. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that.
It's more about team and the schools and communities we represent.
And for the many of us blessed with the strength to compete in sport at the college level, we understand that with what we were given comes a special obligation.
Our obligation to help those who have their own special needs and whose love for the game is no less intense.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. Since August of 2011, we and others from Division III campus communities have volunteered more than 250,000 hours, time away from the classroom and practice field, reaching across the country to coach and mentor Special Olympics athletes.
And to learn that in giving, we receive so much more in return. Help us keep that dream alive.
Be part of it.
Get involved.
You can make a difference.
This is why we love sports. It's in the way they play, free from the pressures and all the money talk. Playing for simply the love of the game, where everyone has a shot at their definition of success on and off the field. This is what we love about sports and what we can still love about college sports.
Well, you know, when they said chill to me today, I didn't really think they meant it literally. Apparently, as this pregame show continues, the wind will not die down. And this is going to go this way till, I think, kickoff at this point, guys. So we're going to bring up the next aspect of the game. And, again, I'm being joined by Adam Turr and Greg Thomas. This is going to be the part where we talk about the Mount Union defense versus the Mary Hardin-Baylor offense. We are hoping to get Brett Casper down here in time for this segment. He is on his way, we hear, literally, to the stadium. And we'll see if he can get here in time to talk a little bit specifically about what he's experienced in this respect. But Mary Hardin-Baylor has had some real trouble offensive line-wise keeping Carl Robinson III protected. 10 sacks in 2 weeks, 4 last week against Brockport, 6 against St. Thomas. Is that going to pose a problem, do you think, especially with the defense and, you know, the prowess that we see in the Mount Union front and linebacking crew?
Yeah, I mean, Mount Union's defensive speed. You know, I wrote a feature earlier in the postseason about, you know, what makes Mount Union so difficult on defense. I talked to the 3 coaches that they faced in the first 3 rounds, and they all separately said the team speed. It's not size. It's not, you know, it's not just the depth they have, which is another factor they mentioned, but it's the team speed at every level. The defensive line, linebackers, those hybrid safeties that can play the run or the pass, and the cornerbacks, obviously. So the team speed for Mount Union can cause some fits. We'll see how they fare without Charlie Deere, who's one of their better defensive players. The linebacker is out tonight, so that's going to be a factor. And I think what Mary Hardin-Baylor might do, and we haven't talked about this much, is run the ball. You know, Markeith Miller, All-American running back, had another 1,000-plus yard season. We've talked so much about the freshman quarterback, but when you have a freshman quarterback back there and an experienced running back, you know, who could take the most pressure off of that quarterback?
Why on earth would they run the ball in this weather? I mean, it should be just bombs away. Greg, in addition to what he asked you, I just want to say, you know, we've seen Mount Union's defense give up some points in the last 2 first halves that they've played in. Does that concern you at all?
It does. I mean, Mount Union's given up big plays, too, especially against Oshkosh last week. They got beat deep a few times, and that's how they dug a big hole, really. And our Mary Hardin-Baylor, TJ Josie, Bryce Wilkerson, if they get behind a defensive back and Carl Robinson has time to throw it and is going with the wind, you know, that's 6 points. So, you know, Mount Union's going to have to be careful on the back end because those guys can definitely get behind them. But as Adam was saying, absolutely put pressure on Carl Robinson III. Make him make choices that he hasn't had to make in these playoffs.
Adam, you're a former defensive back. Can they throw in this?
In this weather?
Yes.
That's going to be a major factor going with the wind, but I think what Mary Hardin-Baylor can do is they can run some screens, they can run some short passes just to get the ball to their speedy receivers out in space. They can get the ball to Bryce Wilkerson within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. He can turn that into a 60, 70-yard play. So that's the key, is just finding ways to be creative and get the ball to your playmakers on the edge. It doesn't have to be deep. Even though Mount Union has been the most vulnerable deep this postseason, there are other ways to beat them, I think.
Brett Casper is literally on his way in here. We're going to get a chance to ask him, and he has not heard any of our discussions, so it's going to be interesting to see if he matches up with us or not. But my thought here, or my question ultimately is, do you think this matchup is where the game is won or lost? I mean, we talked about, yes, they're going to get their yards in terms of Mary Hardin-Baylor defense versus Mount Union offense. The Mount Union offense will get their yards and maybe some points, etc. But is this the facet of the game, this matchup, that decides it, do you think?
Well, Mary Hardin-Baylor hasn't had to play from behind all season long. So what happens if Mount Union gets up early? I think that's the biggest key to this game, is how can this offense perform when they need that big play? They're capable of making a big play, but how do they fare? What kind of plays do they run with a freshman quarterback when you need points to come from behind? That's what the key is to me.
Guys, we're going to take a break here. We'll bring in Brett, and we'll also have Pat Coleman join us and Keith McMillan at some point, I believe, as well. So stay tuned here. You're watching the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com.
For the love of the game.
All right, they're taking our
but for
spots.
those
Yes,
of us
please.
who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Neither am I.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build.
Okay, you're staying.
mind and body,
Congratulations. Hello,
That is
sir.
why
Long time no see.
NCAA Division III teamed up with Special
We got him to
Olympics.
smile, in
Giving
fact.
the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Great moments are born
Hey,
from great opportunity.
Roanoke College, okay, kid?
That's what you
Roanoke
have here
College.
tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Yeah, it's bad. That's what I'm trying to decide.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
For the love of the game, but for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are back here on the Stagg Bowl 45 pregame show on D3Football.com. And Brett Casper, we got to stop meeting like this, man. I mean, I interviewed you a couple nights ago, and you're back for more. I don't know what it is here, but let's talk about what we were just talking about, Adam and I, with Greg, and that is the defense of Mount Union and what a team like Mary Hardin-Baylor has to look out for here to be able to win the game. You experienced a lot, obviously, on Saturday. What changed throughout that game, especially in the second half, that changed the game for them, do you think?
Yeah, they play with tremendous team speed. I think that's one thing that they oppose that is tough to come by. They're very fast, and I think the biggest thing is to not let up. I mean, obviously you saw us give up a tremendous lead, so the biggest thing is to not get comfortable and keep the pedal to the metal.
And you faced this Mary Hardin-Baylor defense here in this stage last year, and they held you to 7 points. What was it about their defense that is maybe different from Mount Union's, or maybe similar?
Yeah, the defense we saw last year was also fast, but they had great size too. Their front seven was very tough, so that made it tough for us to exploit them in the run game. And then relying on the pass game didn't hold up as well as either. So, we try to attack defenses both running and passing. So when they take away one structure of the offense, it makes it tough.
And being here, we mentioned earlier that it might be an edge for Mary Hardin-Baylor having played in this weather in this stadium in late December last year. Do you think that makes a difference, just having them been here before?
Yeah, I mean, playing the season in Texas, I don't know if that's much of an advantage, but they got a little taste of it last year, and I want to say it was colder last year. I know we had the heaters on the sideline last season, and I don't see them out today, but I think they have a little taste of it last year, so I think they'll try to use that to their advantage.
Brett, the Tedrick Smith lists front four, a lot of people thought would lose a step from Mary Hardin-Baylor. It hasn't. By all accounts, it really hasn't. And then that really helps set up the secondary for that team as well, because the pressure they're putting on makes them probably even more superstars than they are, and they're very good at that. Tell me what you see from what you've seen of Mary Hardin-Baylor last year and this year as well.
Unfortunately, I didn't get a great chance to follow them much this year. Had we been playing them, I would have been able to break them down a little further. But I know going back to last year, like you said, they provided a lot of pressure up front. And then their back half, their secondary, they're able to change up their coverages a little bit, which makes it tough on a quarterback. I mean, one snap they might be one high, and the next snap they might two high. So for them to switch up their ability to switch up coverages makes it tough on an offense.
Let me ask you one more question real quick. Can the quarterbacks throw in this wind if it keeps up like this? Let's say longer than 10 yards.
It's tough. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. I don't mind the cold, but it's the wind that's a factor. Obviously, getting the ball up in the air is tough. And in Oshkosh, we had that quite a bit. So, I mean, I had a little bit of experience in it, but that definitely makes it tough.
And last week you put up 40 points on Mount Union. You exposed some vulnerabilities. What were you seeing from the quarterback position that kind of was some weaknesses that you guys felt you could exploit all day?
It's just kind of their man coverages. So I know we had the athletes on the perimeter to kind of exploit that a little bit. Obviously, they have great athletes too in their secondary. But we hit on some big plays that we were able to exploit them on. So I think it's the man coverage type. Obviously when it's man to man, a lot of those plays are kind of 50-50 balls, and we gave our athletes ability to go up and get some footballs.
Brett Casper won the Glardy Trophy, the senior quarterback from Oshkosh here, and a couple nights ago, you seemed very modest. You seemed a little almost shocked and everything else. And Dave is okay though.
It's pretty windy.
But nonetheless, has it hit you? Have you really fully, grasped the fact that you are the top Division III football player in terms of what the Glardy Trophy represents?
Yeah, I think that given time, it helps out a little bit. I had a lot of past Glardy Trophy winners reach out to me and congratulate me, so that was great to see. But also with the season ending, kind of hit me today. We were actually out to breakfast at a bar downtown Roanoke.
Is what you are.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
Yeah.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized.
Okay.
It's a great experience.
It's just a blip, probably. Painless.
We haven't inflicted pain on you. That's your own.
It's on us. It's on all of us. And it's time to act now.
Let's just move to takeaways and
to
take
start
it away
the change.
at that point.
It's
on
us
good to go.
to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
I coined my definition of success in 1934. My definition of success is peace of mind attained only through self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to do the best of which you're capable. It's like reputation and character. Reputation is what others perceive you to be. Character is what you are.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
Well, we were going to bring you Pat Coleman and Keith McMillan, but we decided to cancel them at this point, and they're going to have some stuff for you from upstairs after we're done with this on Facebook Live, I believe. Also, you're going to want to make sure you check which stream you're on, because the All-America team announcements are coming up next, but on a separate stream. So go to d3football.com and make sure you're on the right stream if you want to continue. We'll also have coach interviews coming up on video. Pat Coleman interviewed Coach Fredenberg and Coach Karras on Wednesday during press availability. Guys, normally we do our takeaway of the season, essentially. Adam, we'll let you go first since you're kind of used to this, and Greg, then me. But go ahead. What was your takeaway of the 2017 season, Adam Turner?
Yeah, well, I've put some thought into this. I'll be writing the Around the Nation Year in Review column that'll come out in a few days. This season's been, to say the least, interesting. There were so many ups and downs, so many stories. It was kind of a bittersweet season in a lot of ways. Some things that stood out, the passing of Mike Donnelly at Muhlenberg, the whole situation at Albright. We had the program at Occidental shutting down early. So there's a lot of sadness in this season. There's the last Stagg Bowl at Salem, very bittersweet tonight. I think that's a perfect ending to this bittersweet season. But I think in the end, the play on the field led us exactly where we expected to be. I think most of us had Mary Hardin-Baylor and Mount Union coming back. Interested to see how Mount Union responded after coming short of the Stagg Bowl last year, and they did. Interested to see if Mary Hardin-Baylor could reload, and they did. So we're here, the top two teams in the country. Like Greg said earlier, the brackets really set things up nicely to have the best teams advance, and that's what we saw. And I think we're going to have the best offense against the best defense. What more could you ask for? It's going to be a great game, and we're going to see the top two teams in Division III decide a champion here tonight.
Greg, your turn. Your takeaway from 2017.
Like Adam said, it's been a really tremendous season. I think we see a lot of the same teams get deep every year. We have Mount Union and Mary Hardin-Baylor obviously back here again. Mary Hardin-Baylor for the second time in a row. Mount Union for the 20 out of 23-ish years, and it seems fitting that Mount Union is back here. They started their run of Stagg Bowls here, but with the familiar is a little bit of new. We saw Brockport, Frostburg. These are teams that are up and coming, young teams that have a spark, that got deep. Maybe we didn't see that coming. It'll be interesting to see if those teams can build on that in the future and challenge the familiar.
Great points, guys. Mine is going to be just based on the learning of Salem losing the Stagg Bowl, essentially. Kerry Harvey-Cutter was up here earlier. Very, positive, upbeat guy about the whole situation, and that's Kerry. If you've ever met him once or 100 times, that is him throughout that time. And honestly, last year, in the spot you're standing right now, Dan Dutcher, who's the vice president of Division III, was standing here, and I honestly was convinced that Salem was going to get this bid back, that they were going to have another 4 years of the Stagg Bowl, hands down. Everything they've done for the NCAA over the years in hosting events that they weren't necessarily originally supposed to host, etc., I thought they were a shoo-in. Fast forward, they didn't get it. And nothing against Shenandoah, Texas. Seemed like some lovely representatives here planning and prepping and everything else going on. And more power to them. We can't wait to see them. We gave us their card if we had any questions, etc. They're beginning to get ready to go. Great. But honestly, NCAA, you got to begin to ask yourself the question, is this about money? Is Division III honestly about money? Because honestly, you can't replicate this. Okay, wind aside, you can't replicate this. And it's disappointing for all of us to see it leave. We'll deal with the weather. We dealt with it in 2009. We'll deal with it tonight after the show's over especially. But my point is this. This was a mistake, I think. History will look back at it and judge it. We may not be around at that point in time, but we wish that this choice was not made, because we're seeing a lot of friends disappointed in this whole thing, and it really has become a family. For me, over 10 years, 11 seasons of this now, and 25 years for a lot of other people. So, folks, a lot of people have asked me the question, what am I wearing tonight? I can't really put it on right now because I can't move certain appendages right now. But